How are you? Tis Tuesday, and I can still tell it is the week.
You're deadly.
We are talking, so we mentioned briefly yesterday Whiskey Live. It starts on Friday, 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, the biggest ever. I mean, it's the first time they've done 2 shows both days. It is a great experience. For those of you who have never been to Whiskey Live, it's fantastic. It's just a great platform to engage with the distillers, to taste their whiskies, to taste some of their new whiskies that they're bringing to the market, to taste some of the new make. They've usually experimental stuff that they might have squirreled away. It depends on who it is and how nicely you ask them. I mean, walking around and just shoving a glass in their face doesn't work. Be polite to the staff. They're there just to help you. They're there to answer questions.
It's a tough day too.
It's a tough day. I can imagine for the guys. We've done a couple of smaller shows ourselves, and it's a full-on day. You're talking to lots of people. You're engaging with lots of people. Sometimes people have a bit too much to drink, so it can be a tough day for the staff.
Doesn't cost much to be nice.
No, it costs nothing to be nice.
There you go.
It's a philosophy everybody should have in all of their ways of life.
Course.
It doesn't cost anything to be nice. Nice. As I said, the new whiskies. So there's been a bit of a barren spell at the minute where a lot of the brands are holding back at the minute, ready for Whiskey Live. They'll bring new products to the market. It's a great platform for them to showcase it, to engage with the consumers one-on-one, because one of the things that the brands struggle with, and even us ourselves, is that engagement. I mean, everything's at a remote distance these days, and you're dealing with people, particularly for whiskies, that they're in shops, retailers and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice for them to get some direct feedback and talk to them as well. And we love going to it because we love talking to people. And look,
You just love talking.
I just love talking. I'm like an evangelist for whiskey. I think that's the whiskey evangelist is what I should be. The more I can talk about Irish whiskey and the more good word I can spread, the better it is. So on that, as I say, I just wanted to touch on some of the new bottles that are in this month's auction that we mightn't have seen before that are to the market. We'll start off with these bad boys. I think they're phenomenal. I think Sinead, Katie, everybody loves them here in the office. It is tough for a brand, particularly like West Cork. I mean, they've this reputation of being a mass producer of whiskey. They were doing a lot of contract distilling. They've a lot of releases, so they've a few different brands, the Skibbereen Eagle and a few other ones. So it's tough for them to be innovative and to come up with something new and in the market. And I think that was a great thing for them. It really just broke the cycle of where they were, the plain old bottles. It gave people a talking point. It was just a cracking thing to do.
I think they're just...
So there is 5 in total. I think we've originally seen that the original launch, and there's one of them that hasn't yet come to market. And I maybe stand corrected. Somebody will correct me on that, no doubt. But you've got a sherry cask finished in a Bodega Baron sherry. You've got a port cask finished in a Quinta de Boera port cask. You've got a virgin oak cask, which is Kelvin Cooperage virgin oak cask. And this one is a rum cask, and it is finished in a Consorcio Licoro Nacional rum cask.
Spanish isn't very good.
No, but I did tell you I speak French.
You did, yes.
Okay.
That's okay.
Multilingual, I am. Multilingual. We've all remarked that they're going to be a little pain in the bottom to ship.
Yes.
I think they're going to be a challenge, I think would be the best way to describe them, to ship for us, because they're not uniform, they don't fit in an inflatable, yada, yada, yada. So they will be a challenge to ship. It is going to be fun. But we don't mind. I think it's great to see them. The bottles are just lovely. It's a throwback to those of you that would know the old Cooley Innis Turkbeg. It's a throwback to that bottle. Beside that, we've the big boy. We've Bushmills 25-year-old single malt. We all lamented the days when Bushmills weren't releasing whiskey and they weren't putting out new releases, and now everybody's going, would you just stop already? Would you just lie down, will you? Just give us a break.
Yeah.
They're constantly coming out. I mean, look, it was inevitable. I only had this conversation with the guy this morning. The sole purpose of a distillery is to make whiskey and sell it.
Yeah.
It is not to be concerned about whether people, there's there's too many releases coming, and it's the collectors or it's the things. It's a fine line that they've got to walk, because they've got to sort of keep engagement with their consumers. They've got to keep everybody on board.
They also got to keep the lights on.
But they've also got to keep the lights on, and that's exactly where I was going with that. And they've got to do these things. We always knew Bushmills had lovely aged stock up there. Some of their Causeway Collection releases have been phenomenal. This is one of 2 new releases that's come out. It's going to be, it sits in a funny place. It's going to be a core release going forward, but it's going to be done in batches. So I think the 30-year-old was done in, I think it's 3,600 bottles for this first batch for the year. They're hoping that it'll be for the year. I'm sure they could turn on the taps if they need more. But it's great to see them. The packaging is always on point. Some of the new packaging is just gorgeous. Again, using the shape, the hexagonal shape that they have. The purple is stonking.
It's super
Absolutely
eye-catching.
stonking. The lovely gold top, and
Even the bottle is
the
a
bottle,
fabulous
the
shape.
new shape bottle, everything about Bushmills, the new shape Bushmills, I really, really like.
Yeah.
I haven't been lucky enough to taste that yet. Miss Lauren did promise a bit of a taste for it, but you know what she's like, and she is moving on now as well. She's moving on from Bushmills. Best of luck in your new endeavour. The Palace Bar beside that, that was out about 2 months ago. I just thought it appropriate again. We have an anticipation building, I think is the best way for what's coming from Donvilles, from the Ecklinville distillery, from the Ecklinville brand. We, as in me and you, but we, as in the whiskey community as well, I think have a great anticipation. They've been such good curators of whiskey thus far.
Oh god, yeah.
And I've no reason to believe it's going to be anything other than exceptional from them going forward. I mean, they've bided their time. They could have had whiskey out, 5 years ago if they wanted. They haven't. They've want to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
They're in a lucky position where they have a few other brands that pays the bills and just keeps the lights on. But I know that they have major plans up there for major investment into the distillery itself, and hopefully when they start selling Ecklinville, it's just going to kick it all on.
The liquid's going to be amazing.
Well, anything we have tasted thus far has been lovely. I mean, anybody who's lucky enough to taste the Old Comer had a hint of what they can do, and that was only at 5 years old. It shows what they're capable of doing. Writer's Tears. So Writer's Tears, beside that you've got the Irishman and Writer's Tears, Bernard and Rosemary Walsh. Brilliant people, brilliant brand. They have sold on to AKG or GBD or ABC or somebody like that. I don't know what the name of the company.
You're not very good at your alphabet.
No, I'm dyslexic, especially in my right hand, left hand. But they've always been very, very good. The Irishman and the 17 in particular has been always a great whiskey. The Writer's Tears Cask Strength is one that I have been singing from the top of the mountains. On lots of reasons. So as a drinking whiskey, it's a cracking drinking whiskey. But as a collectible whiskey, 2023, 6,050 bottles only. Would we compare that with another brand that says something very rare? And God knows how many there is. We don't actually officially know the number, but it's in the tens of thousands.
Of course.
So there's only 6,050 bottles of that. Its price point, I think, is about €150 at retail. A real cracking price point for a cask strength whiskey, and for the presentation. I mean, look at it. It's a gorgeous piece of work as well. They're really impressive. I do have a set of Writer's Tears myself. They're really impressive on display as well. So it's lovely to see them as well. Down the bottom, we have two of the things that I wanted to briefly mention. Loch Mask. So recently on Whiskey Wish, there was a year-old spirit that was bottled, or that will be bottled. I don't think it's ready yet. But it was on pre-sale on Whiskey Wish. I think there's 10 bottles left, Sinead, or there was 10 bottles left.
Yeah, there's 10.
That is with the Friends of Irish Whiskey group. It is great that there's such a community like the Friends of Irish Whiskey that's sort of supporting and engaging with these smaller brands. And we've another one, the far side, the Cologne. I mean, Cologne has really, really benefited so well from positive engagement from the social media channels. So much so that they have their own cult, the Cologne cult. That is cask number 24. because of the way Brendan works, and because of Brendan's, I was listening to his podcast with Laurie from Whiskey Chats about they have a new column still now, 100 litres. And he was like getting 2 litres of distillate out at the end. Like he was charging with 80 litres or something like that, and he was getting 2 litres. He was taking off or something. It was something incidental, and you're just going, that's crazy. That much work. And listening to the guys, they were there. They were cleaning it. They were making sure it was all right, getting the plates in place. Really, really interesting. It was such an insight into the workings of such a small distillery. Laurie was there, and they just were mic'd up, and they were just him and Brendan were talking, and Hugh, and they were working away, and it was great to hear it. But I mean, you know, that's all he's ever going to do. I don't mean that's all he's ever going to do, but that's what he's going to be.
Yeah.
He's going to be these small, little, creative releases, with different mash bills.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever done. One of the things that he was saying that he's never done. He hoped to have a core range type thing, but he hasn't done it yet.
No.
Because every one has been different, and it's great that he's doing that. Probably not great business. He needs something that'll be a continuous flow of business. But I mean, from a whiskey fan's point of view, and someone who enjoys his stuff,
what he's doing is cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think he's brilliant. Look, I think they're 2 brands. And a lot of the smaller brands. I mean, look.
He's up in the morning mountains like a mad scientist.
Yeah, and on the day, I think he's like a lunatic above. And on the day that Laurie was, like, it was snow, they had to walk up the mountain. I mean, anybody who's been to Cologne realizes it is literally perched on the side of a mountain, and it's part of its DNA, literally, because he just leaves the fermenting outside and lets the wild yeast and everything grow into it. It's just. Look,
it's cool.
It is cool. It's a great project, and really anything we can do to support Brendan, we always will. As I say, that's the challenges that they face. You've got big brands like Bushmills and Middleton and so on that can throw money at their marketing and advertising, but the smaller brands don't have it. They just depend on us getting engaged with them. And as I say, for Whiskey Live, it's a great opportunity to stand and talking to these guys. Support them. Tell them that you support them. Tell them that you love their whiskey. Be constructive in your criticism. Don't slag them off.
Yeah.
Be constructive in your criticism. Give them suggestions, and look,
because it looks easy until you're trying to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Looks
we know that.
Super easy until you try to do it.
I think there's a few tickets left for Saturday. I think there might be a few tickets left for Friday night with Whiskey Live. Sinead, we have another set of tickets to give away. We might have another 2, I think you were alluding to. So we are putting that on our social media channels. We're happy to give them away. Today we're going to give them away. So let's get out there and get the Whiskey Live and enjoy it. Drink responsibly. Drink loads of water. Don't make a mess of yourself, and enjoy it. All right?
And hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah.
You'll be walking around waving, won't you, baby?
Yeah, well, yeah. Because everybody knows I'm such a people person. I'm famous for it. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay,
Talk to you. See you
bye.
tomorrow. Bye.